And we have, and on the screen we have Nelson's Pokemon. We have a Rotom W, a Latios, Chandelier, Conkeldurr, Scizor, and Among Us. And on Matthew's side we have a Lipod, a Mienshao, an Aaron, a Durant, a Darmanitan, and a Gyarados. Yes, you heard that right, people. Matthew Hui is using an Aeron.
Whoa! Aaron King! Aaron King! Aaron King! Aaron King! Aaron King! Aaron King!
Whether he'll bring it into the battle is another thing entirely, of course. On Nelson's side, we see a very standard team of Pokemon. Good stuffs, probably well balanced, has a decent support and a decent offense. And on Matthew's side, we have a team that is really unconventional.
Okay, sorry, since our other secondary mics have run out of battery for this battle, we only have one mic this time, so please bear with the slightly monotonous voice you're hearing right now. Thank you. Anyway, as mentioned earlier, Matthew's team features an Aron, which is, if you, to those less familiar with competitive play, is usually run at level 1, and quite an interesting strategy that you don't see much of in higher levels of play.
However, Matthew has apparently terrorized the Singapore competitive scene with this level 1 Aron, so I'm sure Nelson is going into this battle being very cautious about it.
And the battle begins. Nelson leads with Rotom Wash and Conkeldurr, while Matthew leads with his Darmanitan and a Mienshao. Mienshao and Darmanitan are definitely not Pokemon you're used to seeing around in the VGC 13 format, mostly common in VGC 11 when the playing field is exclusively limited to only Pokemon from the Unova decks.
However, I'm sure that the Mienshao, being one of the fastest fake outers in the game itself, it will control the offensive advantage over here and disabling either one of Nelson's Pokemon and make it unable to attack for a turn.
Matthew definitely is in a very good position here with Mienshao, who is almost guaranteed to get off of fake outs against Conkeldurr and Rotom, and Darmanitan, who is a very, very, very powerful physical attacker. It's likely going to be able to nuke at least one of Nelson's Pokemon unless Nelson goes for a double protect, in which case Nelson will have to accomplish almost nothing this turn. So definitely Matthew has the momentum in his hand right now over here.
However, Nelson also has... Oh, he withdraw his Conkeldurr, and he's bringing in a Chandelier.
Definitely expecting the Flare Blitz over there, perhaps hoping to trigger Flash Fire and absorb Flare Blitz, and which would boost Chandelier's the power of Chandelier's Fire type moves. But instead, Matthew goes for U-turn and targets Rotom Wash, switching out. And now we wait to see what Matthew is going to bring in to replace Darmanitan. He chooses to send in his Aron, which is finally here, as many of us have been anticipating. Mienshao goes for Acrobatics, hoping to land a super effective hit on Conkeldurr, but instead he ends up hitting a Chandelier, which is still going to do a healthy amount of damage, and it leaves Chandelier in the red. Rotom goes for Hydro Pump, which hits Aron, but is not going to knock out Aron thanks to Aron's ability Sturdy, which prevents it from being knocked out from full health. And now we see Berry Juice triggering, which restores a Pokemon's HP by 20 hit points, which is going to put Aron back to full health.
You kind of have to wonder whether Nelson's naming of the Chandelier Super Scarf actually does bear weight, and whether Chandelier is carrying a Choice Scarf right now, which will make it outspeed just about everything on this field right now.
And beware, the most powerful Pokemon is level 1.
Regardless, it's definitely an interesting position for Nelson, since Chandelier is immune to normal type attacks being a ghost type, so it does provide some sort of insurance against Aron. And of course, there's the distinct possibility that Rotom Wash is actually running Willow Whips, which would burn Aron and... Oh, what's that? Hey, so do me a favor and shut it off. Okay, fine. Aron's sturdy would be broken if it gets burned, and Rotom Wash often carries Willow Whips in this metagame, which would burn Aron and break sturdy, making things a lot more difficult for Matthew. Rotom goes for the Protect, probably trying to defend against the predicted Endeavor. Aron too goes for the Protect. And we see here Mienshao outspeeds Chandelier and goes for Acrobatics, knocking Chandelier out of the game, revealing that Chandelier isn't holding a choice scarf.
No shit.
Matthew seems very, very ecstatic about his current position. And now Nelson sends out his Latios.
However, Latios outspeeds both Mienshao and Aaron is easily the slowest Pokemon in the field and has already used up his Protect. So, as it is, I'm not sure what Matthew intends to do with the Aaron, because 2 attacks on the Aaron will already kill it.
It's unlikely that Nelson would want to burn his Draco Meteor on Aron though, so that does give some sort of control to Matthew too, in this case. Although, as mentioned earlier, Willow Whips from Rotom, which we have not seen yet, could potentially just completely ruin Matthew's plan with Aron. And Mienshao definitely does not like to be facing off Latios. Latios is faster, Mienshao has no way to knock it out in one hit, and Latios is going to be able to KO Mienshao easily with a super effective Psy Shock or Psychic.
However, most Mienshaos also run with a Focus Sash, so... Unfortunately, we already saw Flying Gem Acrobatics from Mienshao, so that knocks it out of the picture.
Matthew is certainly taking his time to consider his moves here, just like any good player would.
Terminator 2.
Oh, and here we go. Mienshao switches out, probably fearing the Psy Shock or Psychic for coming from Latios. And we see, what is that? Gyarados coming in. Quite an interesting player considering that Gyarados is weak to Rotom's stab electric attacks. Not exactly what you would expect. Latios does go for the predicted Psychic, but on Aron instead, and knocking Aron down to 1 HP, triggering Sturdy once again. I guess we can expect to see Rotom attack it this turn. Rotom goes for Thunderbolt and it hits Aron, knocking Aron out of the game permanently. Definitely not exactly what we hope to see from Aron this game, I guess, since probably a lot of us are rooting for an Aron sweep, inevitably.
Matthew is unimpressed.
So,
Nonetheless, Matthew still has 3 Pokemon on his team and he's only revealed 2. If he has a way to take out the Latios... Oh, and he revealed Darmanitan.
Not a very good position for Matthew despite having control in a sense with Mienshao being out, since Gyarados is weak to Rotom's electric attacks and Rotom possibly outspeeds Gyarados. And Latios still definitely is the fastest Pokemon on the field and is going to be able to dent whatever it touches with its Dragon Gem or generally stat boosted Draco Meteors, which are incredibly powerful and unresisted by any of the Pokemon on Matthew's team that are left behind.
Then again, the Gyarados has to be out there for a reason, right? It can't simply just be there to absorb an electric attack.
Possibly, you never know. Matt might just be trying to bait the electric attack for perhaps a bigger plan. Never know. And Gyarados might be carrying a Wakan Berry, which possibly could allow it to survive a Thunderbolt if the EV spread is done properly. I guess we'll just have to wait and see to find out. And earlier, I believe we did see signs that Darmanitan could potentially be running a Choice Scarf due to its speed, though that I'm not so sure about that. Did we see any clear indication that it was running a Choice Scarf? We haven't really seen much of Darmanitan yet, so it's tough to make a call. Okay, Gyarados goes for the Protect, possibly trying to bait the Thunderbolt as mentioned earlier. Rotom 2 goes for the Protect. And now we see Darmanitan outspeeding Latios and hitting Latios with a super effective U-turn. So I guess if we do see indeed that it's Scarf, the U-turn does a tremendous amount of damage and knocks Latios down to the red. And once again gives Matthew a chance to switch out Darmanitan. But in this case he's really only forced, he's essentially forced into bringing in Mienshao back into the game. Not exactly a bad position considering that if Mienshao survives this turn he'll get off a free kick out. Latios goes for the Draco Meteor, and it connects and it hits Mienshao, which is going to completely knock Mienshao out for good. Tremendous amount of damage here, 140 base power boosted by a Dragon Gem and by Stab. Essentially attacking with 280 base power, though it does cut Latios' special attack at the end of after the move is used.
The way I see it, Matthew is in a very bad position right now because he still has to deal with the Conkeldurr at the back, and Rotom W is still able to threaten his Gyarados.
Alright, we see Damanitan back out. Arguably, Matthew isn't in too bad a position now with Damanitan on the field, faster than Latios, and Latios has its special attack cut by half thanks to Draco Meteor. So Rotom is still a very, very huge threat here, as being able to hit both Gyarados and Damanitan super effectively with its stab moves, Thunderbolt, as we've seen earlier, and Hydro Pump, which is exclusive to the Rotom Wash form. Okay, we see Nelson switch out Rotom and send in his Conkeldurr. Quite an interesting play here. Damanitan goes for the Rock Slide, which is going to finish Latios off. At that amount of health, yes. And yeah, indeed, Latios gets knocked out. Not exactly ideal to have Latios around at half its special attack. And Gyarados goes for the Dragon Dance. Totally not exactly a move you would expect to see in doubles, since typically players prefer to shy away from stat boosting moves. But this definitely puts Matthew in a much better position as compared to before. His Gyarados is now at +1 speed and attack.
But his Darmanitan is locked into Rock Slide, and I'm not sure that that will KO the Rotom at that health.
Rock Slide was definitely a smart play for Matthew, especially since that his Damanitan doesn't really have any other way to hit Rotom. I guess he's fishing for a flinch with Rock Slide, since, yeah, he gives me the thumbs up indeed, yes. Rock Slide has a 30% chance of flinching Pokemon that are slower than the user. So perhaps Matthew's fishing for the flinch and hoping that Rotom will just flinch before he gets to touch Gyarados with Thunderbolt. Conkeldurr is quite an interesting player from Nelson, because I really don't think it will be doing much to Gyarados. Damanitan is definitely good. Should have been able to kill it quite easily with Flare Blitz, but now it's locked in the Rock Slide, which arguably does benefit Nelson a lot more. Matthew a lot more.
Conkeldurr is still capable of hitting Gyarados on neutral with Ice Punch, but we're not sure exactly how much damage that will do. And depending on what EV spread that Gyarados is running, whether it will actually do anything.
And of course, Conkeldurr is a very diverse move pool. We could very well see something like Thunder Punch or Stone Edge coming off of Conkeldurr, which would do massive damage to Gyarados. In fact, if Nelson has Rock Slide, he would definitely be in a very good position here, hitting both Damanitan and Gyarados for super effective damage, though it remains to be seen whether Nelson actually does carry it. Damanitan once again unleashes his Rock Slide, hoping for a flinch, hoping for a double flinch even. And will we get it? Rotom's Citrus Berry triggers, restoring Rotom's health by 25%, back in the green zone for Rotom. And Gyarados goes for a Waterfall, boosted by the Water Gem, which is another move that actually is capable of flinching its targeted opponent. So the odds are really... the outcome of this time will really depend on the Nelson's luck here. Rotom gets off the Thunderbolt, not being flinched by Damanitan unfortunately, which is going to knock Gyarados out permanently. Continues to survive the next turn. Hey Matthew, do you forget that Sheer Force reduces Rock Slide's flinch chance?
I know.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. Matthew is instead fishing for a crit, since my mistake. Sheer Force, Damanitan's Sheer Force ability actually removes the side effect of moves in exchange for powering up its attacks that would typically have added side effects. Rock Slide is one of them, and so therefore Damanitan's Rock Slide has no chance of flinching at all. Conkeldurr knocks itself out with its life off after using Mud Punch. Damanitan goes for a Rock Slide. Matthew praying for a flinch, and he fails to get it. Thunderbolt connects, which is going to knock Damanitan out, I presume. And with that, that is the end of a very exciting and very close match. Thank you for staying with us. Goodbye.
Iron Fist. One more round, BGC. Iron Fist.